and welcome back to another Destiny 2 video. Today we're going to go over my top 10 tips for new players from a new player. These are the things that I've found to be the most helpful while starting my journey into Destiny 2, and I'm sure some of them are going to help you out. So let's jump right into it and start with grenades. It's easy to forget to use your grenades, especially when they're on a cooldown timer. When you're used to having a limited supply in typical first-person shooters like I've always been, it can be a challenge to overcome. But once you do, it'll become second nature and you'll never want to go back to having conventional set number of grenades again. Where you're going to want to look to track your grenade status is in the bottom left. You're going to see 3 squares. The one on the left is your grenade. If it's grayed out, you're on cooldown. If it's colored in, you're good to go. Sticking with the topic of things that go boom, let's get into weapon ammo next. You are going to have 3 main types of ammo, one being primary, one being special, and one being heavy. Your primary ammo is going to be your little white block. You're never going to run out of it. It is infinite, and that's going to be your backup if all else fails. You're also going to want to use this on lower level and lower tiered enemies as well. Next up is the special ammo, and that is going to be your green ammo. You do have a limited supply, though it's relatively quick and easy to find throughout the map as you play through the game. You do need to be mindful of how much you are using. Keep in mind you will find it fairly frequently throughout your gameplay. Next up is your heavy ammo. That's going to be your purple bricks. That's what you're going to use in your heavy machine guns, etc. This one is the most sparse to find. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but you're going to see it drop a lot less frequently than the special ammo. So you really got to be mindful of how much you're using it and when. That brings us to our next tip, which is rally the flag. Whenever you're about to start a large or important part of the game, I've noticed you always get to rally a flag. What this does is it refills all your ammo, your super, your grenade, everything. So that way you know something big is coming and to pay attention. Always rally the flag. Don't forget it. Don't miss it. You will 100% regret it, like I have multiple times. Which brings us into our next tip, which is movement. And movement is huge in Destiny 2. You cannot stop moving ever, period. Don't do it. You don't want to be caught standing still. Between the AI or if you're in PvP, they'll just wipe you right off the map and fast. So if you don't stop moving, it's going to help you in a lot of ways for improving your tracking on targets and even just a general feel of the game. But do not stop moving. Tip number 5 is going to be rolls. You're going to hear a lot about rolls on weapons and armor, and a roll is essentially just the perks you get on that weapon, and it's all down to the RNG gods, which is ironic because people are always looking for god rolls, which is just another way of saying the best roll for that specific weapon. But I kind of think that's also subjective because the best roll for a weapon for your playstyle might not be the best for my playstyle. The exception to this would be exotics, and as far as I understand, they don't have rolls and their perks are set in stone for the most part. Tip number 6 is going to be public events. These are temporary events typically that are on a timer to start and can be located by looking for this symbol on the map. These are events that bring random players together. Once you complete it, which usually doesn't take too long, you'll get experience and loot. Each public event can also be turned heroic by completing an extra step along the way, and once you do so, completing that public event will grant you extra rewards and loot upon completion. Tip number 7 is going to be enemies' critical spots. While you would think that headshots are always going to be the best thing, that might not always be the case. Different enemies might require you to shoot different areas of them to be the most effective. Make sure you're paying attention to your shots, as the critical hit markers will show up in gold. Tip number 8 is going to be your abilities. Your abilities play a huge part of the character development in Destiny 2, and there's no shortage or choice of it. Having the choice of Solar, Void, Arc, and Stasis, and now with the final shape we've also got Prismatic to add into the mix. Fortunately, they are changeable, so you'll be able to play around with them and find out what works best for you and your style. Tip number 9 is going to be the final shape. This is the first expansion I've gotten in Destiny 2, and it's also the campaign that has given me my introduction to Destiny in general and started this journey for me. The story's great. The campaign's been an absolute blast to play through. It's full of challenges. Now, with that being said, I would recommend playing through this on normal mode the first time, especially if you're a completely new player. I didn't follow my own advice on this one, and it's been a very difficult campaign to do on Legendary, and that difficulty gets compounded when you're still learning the game mechanics. And that brings us to our final tip, number 10, and that's going to be experiment. Play around with the different classes, the different weapons, everything. Just really soak it all in and find what style you enjoy the most. You know, maybe it's not what you thought it's going to be. Play around and experiment and see what you like best. So there you have it, my top 10 tips for Destiny 2 for new players from a new player. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like, make sure to hit the subscribe button for more Destiny content, and make sure you leave a comment. Let me know what you think down below.